reproduction, we see the menstrual cycle in the females. Now, there is a term that is ovulation. Ovulation is the release of ovum. So, the menstrual cycle is of 28 to 29 days. Now, in the mid of the cycle, that is in the middle of the cycle, about 14th day, both LH and FSH attain a peak level. LH and FSH, these are the gonadotropins. Secreted under the release of GnRH, that is gonadotropin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus. Now, this LH and FSH attain a peak level in the middle of the cycle, that is at the 14th day. Yes, you can see in the diagram. See, on the 14th day, there is a term ovulation. LH and FSH attain a peak. Ovulation occurs at the 14th day after the in the end of the follicular phase, that is proliferative phase. So now the rapid secretion. So what happens when the LH and FSH attain a peak level? Rapid secretion of LH leading to its maximum level during the mid-cycle, called LH surge. And this rapid secretion of LH surge induces rupture of Graafian follicle. Graafian follicle is a tertiary mature follicle, and thereby the release of ovum, that is the ovulation. Now, the ovulation, that is ovulatory phase. There are this type of phases as there is a menstruation phase, there is a follicular phase in which the endometrium regenerates, that is proliferative phase. Then there is luteal phase, that is the secretory phase, and then the next cycle begins. So this was it. So at the mid of the 14th day, there is an ovulatory phase. So these are the types of phases during a menstrual cycle. Diagrammatic representation of various events during a menstrual cycle, which is of 28 to 29 days. Normal female, right? Now where we okay, the ovulation, that is ovulatory phase, is followed by the luteal phase. Luteal phase, it is a secretory phase because it secretes something. And what is that? It's the large amounts of progesterone, during which the remaining parts of the Graafian follicle transform as the corpus luteum. Okay, now this corpus luteum secretes large amounts of progesterone, which is essential for maintenance of the endometrium. You see in the diagram. See in the diagram again. So it was follicular phase, proliferative phase, where endometrium walls starts to gradually regenerates. Now there is an ovulatory phase. Then after that, it's the luteal phase, that is secretory phase. Now you see, endometrium properly regenerates. It's completely regenerates. It's grown upward. Now it's the time for the implantation, right? It's due to the large amounts of progesterone secreted from the remaining parts of the Graafian follicle, that is the corpus luteum. Now, now, okay. So, again, one more thing is that the corpus luteum also secretes estrogen and oxytocin, if I'm right, but it's mainly secretes the progesterone and little bit estrogen. Okay. Now, such an endometrium. So why is this maintenance of the endometrium like kind of it's grown upward during this secretory phase, that is luteal phase? It's because such an endometrium is necessary for implantation, that is the embryo implantation, right, of the fertilized ovum and other events of pregnancy, because we want the fertilization of ovum and the other events of pregnancy. So this endometrium is necessary. This can ask for the assertion reason, right? Now during pregnancy, all events of the menstrual cycle stop. During all pregnancy, all events of menstrual cycle stop. So menstrual cycle leads to the menstruation, that is the menstrual bleeding, right? But it's the indicator. If the you see in the next line, in the absence of fertilization, it means there is no fertilization, though menstrual cycle continues. The corpus luteum degenerates and again menstruation occurs. You see the menstruation. So next cycle begins. So it means you see in the developing corpus luteum, then after the regression corpus luteum, it means the corpus luteum is getting degenerates. So then again, so all these endometrium, these are the blood linings. It gets degenerated, it gets ruptured, and in the form of menses, it continues from the menstruation again. So these are the uterine events, right? And these are the days. So 3 to 5 days, it's the menses, that is the menstruation phase. You see in here. Now, so during pregnancy, all events of the menstrual cycle stop and there is no menstruation, because there is no need for the menstruation right now, because implantation takes place, already took place. So why the cycle would begin again? Okay. Now in the absence of fertilization, the corpus luteum degenerates. Now this causes disintegration of the endometrium leading to menstruation, because there will be no progesterone, so there will be no maintenance of the endometrium, and this is and that and that makes the menstruation bleeding, leading to menstruation, like marking a new cycle. No, in human beings, menstrual cycle ceases around 50 years of age. That is termed as menopause. So menstrual cycle is divided into two terms, that is the menopause and menarche. So menopause is when the menstrual cycle ceases. There will be no menstruation after the around 50 years of age. Okay. Now, and menarche is the term when first menstruation begins at the puberty, right? Now, so cyclic menstruation is an indicator of normal a reproductive phase and extends between menarche and menopause. If there is a menstruation, that means a female is normal reproductive phase. Okay, cycle goes on starting from the puberty, between menarche and menopause, from puberty to around 50 years of age. So this was the menstrual cycle. Some things that left behind from this diagram. On this x-axis, on this y-axis, you see the days, the uterine events, ovarian hormone levels, ovarian events, and then the pituitary hormone levels. On this x-axis, we see menstruation, follicular phase, also known as proliferative phase, because it's proliferate, it's regenerates the endometrium gradually under the influence of the LH and FSH hormone. And then the luteal phase, that is secretory phase, and the next cycle begins. Now, as the ovarian hormone levels, okay, so as the pituitary hormone levels gradually increase, that is FSH and LH, so under their influence, this progesterone and estrogen from the growing follicles is also gradually increases. You see in the diagram, estrogen and progesterone is also increasing, but estrogen peaks before the progesterone, and progesterone peaks mainly during the endometrium, no, secretory phase. So as the developing follicle grows into mature follicle, mature tertiary follicle known as Graafian follicle, and when the FSH and LH attains a peak, this mature Graafian follicle ruptures and releases the ovum, and that is the ovulation. And then soon after the release of the ovum, the LH and FSH drops, and it goes on continues throughout the cycle. So this was the menstrual cycle. So this was the menstrual cycle. Also the some terms for the menstrual cycle. You see, there is menstrual cycle and there is estrous cycle. So menstrual cycle is a reproductive cycle in the female primates, including monkeys, apes, human beings. Now, menarche, the first menstruation begins at puberty, and that term is menarche. In human females, it's 28 to 29 days. And what is menstrual cycle? It's the cycle of events starting from one menstruation till the next one is the menstrual cycle. And only one ovum is released during the ovulation. So this was all about the menstrual cycle.